I'm going to show you this one because it is a different kind of grip for me to get on him. It's not just wrapping around his arm. This time I'm going to hold the elbow on the same side and the wrist on the cross side. And the reason I don't reach across for his elbow is, if you see that my arm is overexposed, I can do this and this with my elbows at my side. So this is a really, this is the best way to configure your hands for this. So I'm gonna do this, and same thing. I can redirect this choking, even if he's choking me. Yeah, I can redirect this to my collarbone, and I will do that so that the weight doesn't further, add to my throat. And I'm not just holding and holding. I'm holding it to me, because that's my body's going to be an important part of this grip too. And now I can trap that foot on that same side, and same thing. I'm going to look where I'm going, and again, if I side bend this way, it even pulls his arm further across. It makes him easier to roll. So now I bridge. It's the same thing. I'm here. So I'm gonna get the same side elbow and the cross wrist, and I'm gonna grab it and attach it to me more, but not to my throat more. That would be stupid. I'm gonna just redirect it to my collarbone and then pull it into my collarbone. Trap that same side foot. Look over my shoulder, but not glance, and not even just turn my chin, but turn my body if I can. And now I'm gonna bridge and roll him. And he can do, this is for partner safety, he can do like a forward shoulder roll. So you'll just fold your shoulder down and roll over it like it's a forward shoulder roll. So when I roll him, yeah, you'll crash a little bit less if we practice it that way. Just this, yeah. Now he might do it because he's got a hand in the collar or something too, right? That may be why this is here, because there are a lot of things he might be doing when his forearm ends up across my throat. But I do want to always have the same reaction, and that reaction is similar to the last one, honestly. Wrist and elbow. I'm going to control the wrist and elbow. And if he's really leaning on me, I might have to reach over his elbow just for a second. I don't like to open my elbow, but just for a second to bring it down. I mean, I can't have that thing so far up that it really is choking me. So if he puts this on here, yep, I'm just going to push it down, but my elbows immediately find my sides again. And now I'm going to trap his foot. And we can always think in terms of this big look, full, flap the bicep over here, okay? When someone leans on my throat, I'm going to take that pressure off just by pushing it south. And then I'm going to grab the wrist and the elbow, close my elbows, trap only one foot. I don't know if I've emphasized that enough yet, but don't trap both feet. Only trap one. Give it the big look. Big bridge. 1, 2. Matt jams his arm under my neck, like this. This is a tempting thing to do when I've given him nothing else. I've been otherwise pretty hard to catch. As you can see that one of the legs of the table is already sort of sacrificed right here when he puts this under here. Not for no reason. There's stuff he can do here. But when an arm first comes under your head, especially early, right, as they put it underneath, I'm going to keep the arm where it is 2 ways. One way, by blocking its exit the way it came in. Now he can't pull it straight out easily. But the other way he could get it out is to windshield wipe it under the back of my head, like that. And I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Matter of fact, the very best way to make your head as heavy as it could be, to trap this in here, is not to look up, it's to look down and then push off my feet. So you feel how much weight is on your arm now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's hard to get out of there even if I don't block it. It's like kind of hard to get out of here. This is a Pedro Sauer detail. It's a way to use your neck to keep an arm committed, over-committed, when someone puts it underneath your neck, and that's from side mount or anywhere. So it's a very useful detail. So I block it here, and I block it by looking not up, but down, and then I push off my feet until I feel the back of my neck kind of crushing his arm. Now I can trap this arm. I can look over my shoulder, and I can roll him. It was his overcommitment, his bad. When he reached his arm under my head, he gave me this opportunity. As soon as it comes under, 1, 2, and that's, again, with a tucked chin. Trap his foot, look where I'm going. Roll them off, and you can see right away I'm blocking the biceps. It's a good habit in a competition kind of situation or in a fight. If I'm on top of Matt and I have his wrists pinned, he's still going to use the bridge to get out, but if he only bridges, he only adds weight to his wrists, right? And he's only going to feel more pinned, okay? So what he's going to do instead is, at the same time as bridging, and this does have to be sort of sudden, so I recommend like sort of slamming your feet on the ground for that extra percussive moment. He's going to also drag his elbows down to his sides. So go ahead. Good. Good. And the reason I fell, kind of like we were talking about with the hips coming forward of the knees, is because my shoulders came forward of my wrists. When I get to here, I'm falling. And I have to catch myself. So he only needs to get my shoulders in front of my wrists. And so we're going to do it one more time where I have his wrist pinned. He's going to, you can even make that noise slamming on the ground. Yeah. Yeah. And I recommend that the smaller somebody is. So like my kids can do this to me. My 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds can do this to me. But only when they're kind of percussive with their feet. Bam! And it makes it more sudden, more percussive, more of a surprise to me. And that's how he gets out. So if I'm pinning his arms, that's his job. What if he never overcommits his hands, or basically, what if he gets the gist that trap and roll is what I want, and so he just won't put his hands anywhere? Everything I try, he just keeps his hands to himself. So we talked already about how powerful a wrist and elbow grip could be. We talked about it when he had his forearm on my throat, actually, was one of the times where I got his wrist and I got his elbow, and what a good control it is on the arm to hold somebody's wrist and elbow. So if a person's non-committal, sitting up won't put their hands anywhere. So usually they're keeping their hands away from you. If you can get their wrist and elbow, you can go get it. And now I have wrist and elbow grips. In this case, I do have a C grip. And again, I'm blocking the tricep with my thumb sort of up on the outside. That's to block him from pulling out this way. This doesn't cut it because he can pull out. But if I get wrist and elbow, even if he's sitting up, I can now trap and roll him. But to trap this arm a little better, I would like to connect it to one more thing, which is a body. And it might be my body. I might be able to get it down here, but maybe he's just staying up there. So I'll attach it to his body. That's fine. He'll still go, because a hand that's busy like that can't be a post also. So in a way, even non-committing is an overcommitment, right? So I'm just going to reach up. Sometimes you have to reach up. Now, I don't recommend a lot from the bottom of defaulting to this, because this is how you get armbarred by a good guy on top. So I would be careful about it, and I'd maybe use it in combination with other things. Like I'm trying to get, I'm trying to do a thing and he keeps picking up his hands, right? And then somehow I can get the wrist and elbow. And if I attach it to him, which I have, or if I can attach it to me, which would be just if we were in a little bit different situation, I could attach it to me. These are both fine ways to roll somebody over. So I'm going to bridge here, and he's going to probably tuck his shoulder for safety. And now I'm on top. I end up in this position here, which is good for jiu-jitsu. It's a great way to start passing because I can stand up on this side without him grabbing my foot. Or I might let go. If it's a self-defense situation, blocking the biceps is honestly one of the safer things we do. I'm bridging. I'm trying to put him down. Every time I do something, he gets his hand away from me, but he's hiding his hands against his body. So I'm just going to get wrist and elbow. I'm going to trap and roll. One other thing that can happen when a person is sitting up and I'm trying to bridge and get them down is that even though I'm checking my elbows, are my elbows good? Is my bridge as good as it can be? Sometimes people just, they're rodeo cowboys. Like he's able to stay on by leaning back. And that's really what it is. When I'm bridging and I can't get him to fall, it might be because he's basically leaned way back. If somebody leans so far back that even your best, bridge and elbow work can't get them down, that is another kind of overcommitment by them. He's leaning back so far that it's going to be easy for us. When I'm failing because he's leaning back, I'm just going to get a grip of his belt or hip bones, and I'm going to push him and get up. That's not possible most of the time. But here I actually am able, this backwards overcommitment, I actually am able to push him over his shin to the ground. I'm doing all my best bridging. My elbows are good. I didn't make a mistake here, but he's still not going. So he must be just really committed to leaning back. But if somebody's leaning back like this, Then I'm going to make a connection to their hip bones or their belt if we're wearing the gi. And the direction of push is 90 degrees across his shin. 90 degrees across his shin. Don't try to sit up and push him straight back this way because he has base in his feet. The place he doesn't have base is across his shin. So I'm always looking to push him across the shin. Next, I want to talk about if somebody is on top of me and I'm in a fight scenario. This is a really important one. And the way that we're going to practice it is I'm going to have Bart start with his hands on the floor. And he's going to show me what it looks like for someone to sit up and punch me. He's going to sit up as if to punch me. Yep. And right away, I need to think about the space that he's created. More space is better for him when he's throwing punches. A lot of times, someone who wants to hit someone else in the face pushes the face away so that it's in the exact range they want. So distance isn't something I want to let him control for any amount of time. So when he sits up, right away, I'm going to do a sit-up also and connect myself to him. And I'm going to put my feet on the floor and deadlift so that, again, I overcommit his hands to the floor. A lot of the rest of this is going to sound familiar. My hips stay up for the whole rest of the move. The next thing I do after I do a sit-up and a deadlift is a chin-up. So I'm going to get chin-up grips on his shoulders because I might have thrown him high enough overhead that it's hard for me to trap and roll, so I want to scoot up. So before I do that, I just throw him overhead, I get chin-up grips, I'll scoot up a little bit, and now still hips are off the ground. I wrap my arm around the back, wrap, and then trap, just like we have historically, his arm and his foot, look over my shoulder, and roll. And of course, more important than ever, that I block his biceps from there. For our practice purposes, he's going to start with his hands on the ground. So I learned to recognize the creation of distance, which is to my disadvantage. So he sits up, I sit up, I connect. So I do a sit up, a deadlift off my feet, put them overhead, and my hips now are off the ground, rest of the move. Now a chin up. I slide up so I can reach his arms, and then wrap, trap, and roll. Wrap, this is the most often forgotten detail. If I let go of his shoulders here to trap and roll, sit up when you can. Sit up. Yeah. Nothing's really holding him down anymore. And my hips are off the ground. That's good. That's helpful. But if I don't hold on to him and hang off of him, so sit up now. So I'm hanging off him. It's a big difference. From here, if I let go with one and I only have one corner of his back, he can just tilt his back and sit up. Yeah. Okay, so that's why. So I just did my chin up, and now wrap, trap, and roll. Sometimes when I go to wrap an arm and he goes to pick it up, I catch it off the ground like this. So what I have essentially is I have his hand trapped in my armpit, and I caught his tricep on the way out. I basically just caught his tricep on the way out. And this is just as good a trap, and I want you guys to know. So if I was doing everything right, my hips are off the ground, and I swim and he goes to pick it up, sometimes this happens actually pretty frequently where the guy knows he's about to get trapped, but I'll catch the tricep, and when I close my arm, his hand is still caught. And that makes this a really good one. Not only do we have the whole arm trapped, and I'll get a nice trap and roll here, but for class purposes, when I trap his hand and it's on the ground and he's got to turn it over for me and everything, yeah, it's not one that I can do at a high speed or anything if I'm trying to practice with people. This is why we don't do sudden explosive trap and rolls, like fake you out, wham, and I go real quick this way, because the person may not have time to turn their hand over. That's like a thing we do for each other to keep each other safe. But I run into this one a lot where I go for it and he picks up his hand, and I just catch his tricep on the way up, clamp, and I have his hand, which is totally safe. And now I can get my nice trap and roll. But I just want to talk about moving north, because it's such a huge part in a messy trap and roll situation of catching an arm that otherwise you might not have been able to catch. One of the things we talked about was the high, medium, and low placement of his hands. So let's say he has medium placement of his hands, but I'm pushing up and I walk north. Now it's low, right? And I would say that low is easier than medium, medium is easier than high in terms of our escape. So you give yourself sort of a promotion every time you move a little further north. And the whole time I'm doing it, his hands become heavier and heavier and harder to pick up. So moving north is my big clue for you on how to make this work against a resisting opponent who knows what you're doing. And again, if I bridge and he catches himself up high, I can just chase it. It's a big northward run for me, and this is the thing that's going to help you make trap and roll work in situations when you might not otherwise have been able to reach the arm or maybe even catch the person, but it makes their hands heavier, and it gives yourself a little promotion, makes their hands closer and closer to you, easier to catch. One of the first places we see that is on the self-defense one, because we do throw them so far overhead and we have to scoot our way up. That's the first time we really see and start talking about moving north, but always moving north helps your trap and roll. So it's something to add in. We are always bridging, and you can always be moving northward. It's the thing that brings together your trap and roll in every situation.